If you've been following along with the Systems Reset series, you've heard me talk about why being great at what you do isn't enough, why onboarding shouldn't be a guessing game, and how your calendar can either protect or break your boundaries. But today, I want you to hear from someone who has lived through all of this and came out stronger on the other side. I'm going to be talking to a client, colleague, and friend who's also a member of the Mind Your Time Society. Her story is such a powerful example of how getting clarity, setting boundaries, and putting systems in place can completely transform your business and your life. Welcome to the Mind Your Time podcast. I'm Shannon Baker, your coffee-loving host and business operations strategist. If you're a service provider who's great at what you do, but stuck with misfit clients, messy onboarding, or draining workdays, this show is for you. Each week, I share bold strategies and practical insights rooted in my Power in Motion framework to help you streamline your back end, protect your time, and lead your client experience with confidence. Because skills got you clients, but systems will take you further. So grab your cup of coffee or your favorite drink, and let's dive in. Okay, so let me start by saying if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you notice that I haven't had a guest episode in years. One reason I made that decision because it's my podcast and I can do what I want, but also because I wanted to make sure I wasn't having people on the podcast just because my goal is for every episode to provide value. So today's chat is with Emani Guy, the CEO and founder of Made New Marketing, and I consider her to be a friend, trusted colleague, and she's also my content manager and a member of the Mind Your Time Society. So I'm going to let Emani tell you her story, but before we get into that, I want to give you a little background information about how we met because it really emphasizes the importance of collaboration. So I have a client that's been with me practically since I started my business, and she's an event producer. I manage her business and I'm logistical on-site support at her events. So in 2023, she produced the conference and Emani was on the team with that client. And that's when we met and we hit it off immediately and just kept in touch after that. A few months later, I was hired by that client to clean up their back office, and Emani and I really got to work together closely. So when I launched my membership, Imani was one of the first ones to join. But at that time, her business wasn't quite ready to really benefit from the resources inside. So now that you've got a little bit of background information, I'm going to turn it over to Imani to tell us her story, starting with how she took the leap into becoming an entrepreneur.
First, I want to say thank you, Shannon, for having me on this podcast. This is a long time coming with us working together, a long time coming with me being on here. But hello, everyone. Like Shannon said, I'm Emani Guy, founder and CEO of Made New Marketing. I started my business back in October 2023. I was working freelance in the marketing industry with a client that Shannon and I shared. And then I was like, maybe I could be an entrepreneur. But I wasn't ready to take that leap of faith. I was like, hold on. I love the stability of my 9 to 5. But in September of 2023, before actually flying out for our client's conference, I got an email saying that I was losing my job. And so I faced the decision, would I become an entrepreneur, which I was confused about, like, hold on, is that really my calling? Or would I try to look for jobs in the marketing industry? It's hard. It was hard to find jobs. So I just took a leap of faith and started my business. And now I'm here. I'm actually celebrating 2 years, October 23rd, and entering my 3rd year. So, just a testament to just taking a leap of faith and not looking back. And that's exactly what I did.
I remember that first year, of course, you were going through all the motions. As you know, we've talked about in other conversations, you had all the pieces you need to start your business. So as you really got into doing things with this client, while you were really good at your work and you were developing your skills, but one thing you mentioned was your lack of systems was holding you back. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So yeah, I remember when I first met Shannon. Actually, I met you when I had lost my job because I lost it right before we went to the conference. And so I was frantic. I used to always tell Shannon in the beginning of months of getting to know her, you look up how to start a business and they're like, get your EIN, LLC, business banking. They may give you some systems, but they don't really show you how to structure it, not to fit what works best for you, but your clients. And so that's what I dealt with a lot. Like, I had the skills, I had the talents, the gift, all the things, but I didn't really know how to structure a business that was scalable. And I know we'll get into this later, but also the boundaries piece was boundaries and systems, I say, were the biggest piece in the beginning of my business that caused burnout, all of the things. Like, I was really struggling. Like, I barely slept. I mean, answering calls 10, 11 p.m. and really not building a system or a foundation for my business. Like, I lacked, it was very, very a rocky foundation for my business. And it showed later down the line.
And one of the things I remember really that first year is because you were so overwhelmed, you started experiencing some health challenges.
Mm,
Do you
yeah,
remember what I told you at that time was going on? Because they couldn't figure out what was going on with you,
yeah,
but I knew what it was.
yeah, yeah. You would tell me stress, but also burnout, I believe. Like, I was experiencing extreme burnout. And I feel like we've had multiple conversations of just how important, I think that speaks to also what you do in your business, the importance of, yes, you run a business, you're an entrepreneur, this is how you make your money and everything, but you have to make sure that you're okay, because if you're not okay, then your business is going to suffer. And when that happened, I was even still trying to work, make meetings on the way to doctor's appointment. And what was going on was, it was like inflammation in my chest. I was in pain. Like, I used to try to work from the bed. I don't know, like you guys see in movies, how the people, like, they get into the hospital because they have strokes and all these things and they're still trying to work. And that was me, unfortunately. And I was only, I think I was like 24 at that time, 24, 25. So I'm 24, 25 in and out of doctor's appointments for 3 weeks because of stress, because they couldn't really determine inflammation in the chest can be caused from so many different factors. And so I'm in and out of hospital. I'm going to the cardio doctor, a PC, like all of these things to get tests, because, but it ultimately came down to, I was stressed because I haven't had that pain since. I never had that pain. But when I look back at that time period, it was a lot going on, and I feel like it just all comes to having boundaries as an entrepreneur, because we struggle to do that a lot. Like, we think if we say no, a client's going to walk away. And if they choose to walk away, then that's on them, because we have to make sure that our health is important. Because if something ever happens to us, they just going to find somebody else anyway. You see the same thing in corporate America. They say, okay, you can take this sick time, but at the end of the day, they're going to find somebody to replace you. So you need to make sure you take care of your health. And that's from experience. That time, I remember Coach, they're like, I don't know, but things need to get done. It's like, no, take a pause, focus on your health. If they don't understand, then you actually should not be working with them. So that was a very, very tough time. And I probably didn't even start implementing Shannon's advice until early this year, when I was like, oh, in December and January this year. And I was like, I can't do this no more. I'm burnt out. So, yeah.
And I also remember another shift that you had to make was with your messaging and your services, because you were very clear on what you did, who you serve, and how you would deliver. Once you got that clarity, how did things change in your business?
Tremendously. I remember when we first started working together, I want to say this was in March. Yes, it was in the beginning of March. And we sat down and you were like, what's your vision? What's your mission? And I think at the time, because when I look back, when I started my business, I'm like, I just have to get clients. Like, I lost a significant amount of income. I have to build up that income to be able to, it's expensive in the DMV. So I had to build that income back up. So when I look back, when I started my business, my goal was, okay, you need marketing, you need this, you need that. Okay, cool. Like, I can do it. Not really realizing, one, that's not sustainable, because you should not be able to work with everybody. Like, everybody does not fit your target and your goal. So sitting down with you in March, I was like, okay, I have some work to do. And even when I was just going prepping for today, I sat back and looked, and I was like, I never really, in the first couple years or year and a half of the business, sat back and like, what do I see this being? Not now, but in the future, like when we
Mhm.
were talking about the vision, what do I see it being in the future? And I was like, it really got me thinking. And I think and when we started talking, when I look back, just prepping, that was when I started to pivot. When I really sat down and was like, okay, what is my business supposed to be? Like, I know I'm supposed to be doing so much more than what I'm doing. I'm not supposed to be feeling burnt out. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I can make my own schedule. Why am I feeling burnt out? And that pivot, these last couple months have been hard, but it really shifted everything in my business because I sat down, just like prayed and really like, what does my business look like next? Like, what do I want it to be in the future? And that really transformed my thinking, transformed that, okay, I really have to be serious about my back office. I have to be serious about my systems. Like, if this is the vision for 5 years, I can't have no back office. I can't not have an onboarding and all of these things. Like, I have to get my systems and foundation in order. And that comes with vision. I remember you saying, how do you not know, if you don't know what you want to do, then how can you even build that structure for your business? So yeah, it's been a journey since March, but that conversation was the start to me actually pivoting and really figuring out, okay, what does this look like next?
Okay, so now we're at that clarity point. What do you do in Made New Marketing?
Yes. So it has changed a little bit since we last spoke, but so our goal basically is to help entrepreneurs shine their light. Entrepreneurs, we work with churches, ministries, and we used our foundation, which is faith, to do that. And so we work in social media management, event marketing, not full events, but event marketing, and of course, storytelling. One of the things recently that I haven't shared with you yet, but working with you has showed me how people often also lack structure in their marketing and how it's important for them to build a foundation in every area of your business. But working with you and building that foundation in my entire business made me realize that you need that in every area, but the entire business is a start to building out your operations in every department of your business. And so I don't know, just working with you has shown me like, wow, people really don't have structure in their marketing. They don't have the strategy. And then of course the storytelling part with the social media or event marketing support. So it was really just interesting how this 6 months, how everything is just like full circle. Like, we knew when we first started, it was going to be the community piece. We knew it was going to be some faith incorporated, but we just didn't know in March would it be now. But that comes back to getting clarity. And also, even if you're pivoting your business, like, keep going, because it's like blurry. It was blurry in March. I'm like, okay, people see it. I don't see nothing. I probably need like bifocals or something. And then I was like, okay, it's starting to make sense. As I'm taking these steps, it's starting to make sense. It's starting to get clear. Like, I'm starting to see the actual vision that we said back in March, because I just was like, I'm gonna just keep taking these steps, and I guess wherever it led, that's what it's gonna be. So yeah, that's how I was able to really get clear and really just hone in on who I'm called to serve, like, and help through my business.
If you're new to the podcast, I always talk about the 6 core systems that every business owner needs. But the first 3, just so you know, I was so proud of Imani. She already had her digital file structure in place, but she was missing 2. And one of them is really huge, which was her client onboarding and then having control of her schedule or her calendar management, because she didn't have all the boundaries in place that she needed. But one of the biggest ones that I knew she needed to make a priority was her onboarding, because her complaint was, as a content creator and manager, that clients weren't getting her what she needed to be able to do her job. So we tested it out together, created a base in Airtable that she can recreate with every client. So it's a template. So how has building out your onboarding process over the past, I would say 3 to 4 months, what difference has it made as you start to work with new clients?
When I tell you they love Airtable, like love it. They go in the platform, they're like, I think I just had one or two clients who I had to go over with, but everybody was like, it's fairly easy. They're actually excited that everything's in one platform as opposed to, Google Drive and then having to go to a Google folder and then having to, the cells, the columns are too big or too long. So they really love Airtable, and it has been very easy to just also it's an app, so just upload from the phone and ping them when it's ready. Have they're able to edit it and different things. So when we talk about systems, like that was one of the big keys to be efficient with like clients being able to review content, because if they can't review it in a timely manner, things fall. Or even if I have to go into Google Drive and add a link and then add all these extra things fall. So and when you think about things falling, then that messes up your client retention, that messes up clients are like, hold on, what's going on? So you have to, like, Airtable is very important, but the onboarding was very important as well, because I think before I had calls with my clients, but it wasn't a true extensive onboarding package to say, here's your, like, I think at the end we put a checklist. This is what I need to, in order to be able to start. If I don't get these things, then it prolongs or push back our actual start date. And so being able to do that was really helpful for me. And I don't have to before, y'all, I used to do too much. Proposals for every client or potential client, and then to maybe not get some. And this making everything so specific to each client. But with the onboarding package, all I have to do is maybe change it out a little bit depending on the package they got and their name, but I don't have to change everything because I need all the credentials, the login credentials. Before I used to do everything on my Canva account. Now I'm like, do you have one? Can you add me to your team? Just to make sure that things are separate, but also that they're able to see everything. It's just streamlined better, especially when you think about you may not work with clients all the time, like the same client for years. So instead of having to transfer, remember I had to I had to do all that, and it's hard to transfer on Canva. So just those little things adding to my onboarding has made it so much easier. I had a new client onboarding last week, and he was like, wow, this is very, thorough. I'm like, shout out to Shannon, because I sent the onboarding package and it literally had everything. And I recently updated too, based on just pivoting in the company, the things that I seen maybe I actually do need. And it's very helpful for your client, because also just what I learned working with you is that it could be easy for you to do because like you're on the back end of the business, but it's not about if it's easier for you. Like it's about your client. Like if they're struggling to keep up with what you're doing and they're not really understanding, then I don't want to say you're failing, but you're missing a piece. And when you think about even like getting clients back, it's hard because they're like, she was good at her work, but I couldn't really keep up because it was too much going on. And I think that's what I struggled with in the beginning. But now, and I'm like, you're going to know in the beginning what's going on. You're going to have these systems that I know have proven to work. And I'm not even creating the wheel again. I'm just duplicating and maybe even changing some of the columns to be specific to the client. But I'm making a process easier for them rather than easier for me. I feel like that's how I operated in the beginning. Oh, this is easy for me. I know what I'm doing. But then the client's like, can you clarify this every day? And I'm like, okay, now this is easy, but it was because I was working for it to be easier for me and not, for them.
Yes, and that point right there really emphasizes how when you create processes or systems that are client focused, it needs to be all about them.
Right.
Because if they have a bad experience, as you mentioned, it doesn't matter how good you are at your job. All they're going to remember is the bad experience that they had with you. And that's going to, one, block them from referring anyone to you because they don't want anyone else to experience that.
Right.
But then two, If you wow your clients and they're happy with you, you can raise your prices, you can change your services. They will stay with you and they will sing praises and bring more people. But it comes to your client experience.
Right.
Now, one thing we also talked about several times, which is part of the client experience, is boundaries. Because before you did not have boundaries in place, especially around your calendar. How is it different now?
I'm gonna just say this. Y'all need to work with Shannon because she is going to get y'all together unfiltered, but it's going to be beneficial in the long run. When it came to the boundaries with the calendar, I used to take meetings every day of the business week, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, or at least 3. And what that did was I did not have opportunity to work on the back end of my business. That's why it was starting to quickly crumble because I'm so focused on what's on the front end, but I'm missing the back end and not even having at least one day where I'm able to focus on my admin. Um, and so I would take calls even outside of the 9 to 5 because of course I didn't have a separate work phone. So it was already, if I see it, I'm just going to respond. But I realized that's not the best option because then people become accustomed to you answering at 9, 10 o'clock at night, trying to get things done. And I also realized that everything is not urgent, like if there's a big event coming up or a deadline, but it's not that urgent at 9 o'clock at night, especially if it's Monday through Thursday. Now, if it's a Friday and they need something before Monday, that could be understandable. But if it's Monday through Thursday, it can literally wait till the next morning. So setting those boundaries on my calendar now, I only take meetings Mondays and Wednesdays full, like 9 to 5 on both days. Thursdays, 11 to 2. Other than that, Tuesdays are my admin day, and working on anything internal. And Friday is my rest day. Yes, I have a rest day.
And I'm
um,
clapping, but you can't see
clap
us.
because I would take meetings. Shannon will be like, "Oh no, I'm not available." It's me. I'm available because I just felt like if I wasn't available, the client's gonna feel like I'm not serious. But I want to say this also, like, you don't have to prove yourself to your client. Like, you're already working with them. They clearly see that you're capable to do the job. So you don't have to like overextend yourself. And that's what I did. And so once me and Shannon probably can't even count on my hands how many times we have had this conversation. But once I started to implement it, I started to see less stress, time free up. My back end wasn't failing because one of my excuses, well, I would say it was an excuse. I can say it's an excuse now because we overcame it, but was I didn't have time to focus on my back end. Like that was crazy that I even would say, like, I didn't have time. And you were like, okay, okay, but setting those boundaries has cleared up so much time. I'm able to go in person more for clients. I'm able to just do more without feeling like, even if I'm out of office for a day, like sometimes Thursdays I may have to go in person for a content day, I can do that without feeling like my business is falling apart. Because if you leave your office for 3 hours and you feel like your business is falling apart, then you have bigger problems. And that was me. Like, I remember when we first started doing our coffee days, I would feel like, oh my gosh, like, how can I be out doing this? And then I was like, relax. Like, no, nothing can happen in 3 hours. And also, you need to set aside time. If you know you're going to be outside of office, how can you maybe potentially rearrange your schedule and have those boundaries? So when I'm out of office, when I'm at these events, when I'm doing things in person or in the field, I can be present where I am. And I did not do that the first year and a half of my business. I would, oh my bad, I have to take this call or do this. And, when I did start setting boundaries in my business, some clients didn't like that simply because I basically just let them walk all over me in short terms. And so when you set those boundaries and you haven't before, people do, they get confused. They're like, okay, she's switching up. But really it's, you were taking advantage of me not having boundaries. And so setting those boundaries, that even shifted my business. Like it was a lot of shifts happening at one time. The messaging, I was focused on the back office. I was setting boundaries and people were it just, people had to take time to receive it or even not receive it because of who I showed up as. But that wasn't even me. Like, I was overextending myself. And now I don't be burnt out. I mean, even though this last 6 months has been hard, I'll see you Monday. I say this to my work stuff. I'll see you Monday. I'm taking the weekend. I'm taking Friday. I'm prioritizing myself, because if I can't be my best self, then things are going to fall through, especially as a solopreneur. Like, things are going to fall through. So boundaries. If you don't learn anything else, boundaries. That's it.
No, one thing you mentioned, actually, our last coffee co-working session, was that you repeat something I told you about working hours and office hours. How
Mm-hmm.
has that made a difference for you?
It has helped me to be able to have days where I'm focused on client work or my own work. Because before, if I'm working, one thing we had this conversation, I think before, I would be in the zone for like 2 hours, and then I get a ping, you have a meeting at 1 p.m. Now I'm out of that creativity space, that, working on client work. I could be typing something out. I'm out of that space now. I have to step aside, put another hat on, for my sessions, for my check-in calls, and then I have to be in that meeting, right? And then now I'm out of that meeting. I probably lost what I was working on before because I had to stop in that moment. Like, even for what you do, for what I do, when you're in that zone, I've done stayed up to 3 a.m. because I was in that zone, just like working here and there. When you're in that zone, you have to stay in that zone, because once you get out, now I'm hungry. Now I got to walk my dog. Now I got to now life starts to happen. So setting those hours, I'm like, okay, so Tuesdays, I can get me a good workout in before work. I can come back. I enjoy breakfast now. Not even breakfast working. I enjoy breakfast, breakfast. I enjoy lunch. I used to work basically through every meal. And that's not long term. That's really, truly not sustainable. So having working days and admin days separated, when I can actually focus on client work, no calls. If it's like a random call, that's like, okay, like on the phone, but having to set up a Zoom and get on camera when I want to be in my scarf and my PJs and get work done. So it's like, having those days are very crucial in your business. Like, you can't go without them. You really, truly cannot. I had a friend who started a business, and I was like, wait, you got meetings? No, you need to have business and work days and admin days, because as your business grows, you have to have that established. There's no reason you should be taking meetings 5 days out the week. No reason. Just I'd rather stack them than like scatter them. Oh, that was good. On.
Hmm. I was like, I am proud of you, because
Yeah.
this time last year, we were not at this point.
I don't even think we were close, because we were not at all. At all.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But now, if someone listening in on this episode feels stuck the way that you used to, what's the first thing you would tell them to do to start making changes?
I would say take a step back, because I felt like I had to do that. I had to take a step back and really assess, what do I want my business to be? I think when you asked that question, that really was when my mind started to really go, because a lot of businesses don't make it past a certain amount of years because either vision or, financial piece, we're not going to get to all that, or just other things. But I would say take a step back, realign, even if you have to let your clients know, hey, I need a second, and just pray. And I said, oh, get a realign. And also, when I was feeling stuck, it was because it was time for me to pivot as well. So being okay with that pivot, even though I was early in business, I used to say, wait, why am I pivoting so early? Like, I feel like I'm just getting started. But you may have to pivot more than you think in business. And a lot of people think sometimes with pivoting, that means that you're unsuccessful in business. Actually, and I remember talking to you, you said that's actually really good, because that means you've gotten to a level where it's time for you to go to the next level. There's more that you need to do. And so I think that was the hardest piece that I had to like come to terms with when I was stuck, that something's not working. You're stuck for a reason. Once I got the systems in order and I still felt stuck, I was like, okay, I think it's something else in the business that I need to pivot in. And it was the messaging. It was the target audience. It was just honing in on just the overall vision for, my company. But I would definitely say evaluate why you're stuck, where you're stuck, and then assess what are the next steps for getting unstuck. And be okay if it doesn't happen in a month. Because I finally, after like March was 6 months ago, I think, I finally feel like I'm out the quicksand. I'm finally getting back to Emani, just like working in my industry, my business, being confident in pivoting in the business, because you have to rebuild that confidence. I've been doing what I did in the past in the business for a year and a half. I had to work in the beginning. You remember when I first met you, I was not confident at all. I didn't even know how to pitch my business, what to say. And so now you talk about pivoting. Now you have to be confident in that. So that took me time, but now I feel truly ready to really just step out on what this pivot looks like, and knowing that it's for a reason, even if, again, like I can't see, like I said earlier, even if the picture is very blurry, just keep stepping and like you'll get unstuck eventually.
Okay. Now, the question that we didn't talk about ahead of time was, now, while a lot of the assistance that you got was us working one-on-one, how did the resources inside of the Mind Your Time Society help you with creating or documenting some of your processes and other things with the progress that you've made?
Yeah. So being in the membership, there are so many resources that I think are very useful no matter the stage of your business. Because even when you talk about resetting your systems or pivoting or getting unstuck, every document you have is broken down by areas in your business, boundaries, burnout, all of the things that we as business owners deal with. And sometimes we don't have the resources. And I think for me, how I learn, I'm able to have those calls with you. I'm able to be in the membership and have the larger calls with the other members. But then I'm able to go into the membership, pull documents. Okay, I can say I need to let me make sure my systems are good. Let me make sure I didn't, get all over the place or off track, and I'm able to realign. Like, it's always about realigning in your business. And something good that I love is when we have the calls and you say, what are your goals? Like, what's one goal you can focus on? Because oftentimes we focus on 20 different goals. You can't accomplish 20 goals in 3 months. I mean, you can, but realistically, to do it efficiently, what's the one thing that you need? Even with the recent sheet you sent, the boundaries, was it the boundaries worksheet? The
Mm-hmm.
boundaries worksheet. I went through that and I'm like, I've been working with Sheena. I'm good, but never think that you're too good that you can't work on things in your business, because going through that, I realized that I could be better in certain things when it came to my clients, or just refining things. Like, this is the perfect time. We're in Q4, a couple months left in, the year. And so what do I need to do in order to set myself up for the next year? That's literally what it helps with. And it also helps with each quarter. You should be reassessing each quarter, because things change, times change, clients change. And so it provides resources for everything. Even I remember when I first started, scheduling systems you need, communication systems, any type of system. I'm telling you, you need to be called Shannon, the systems girl, because she gives you all the systems that you need, breaks each down. She doesn't just give you one that she thinks is the best, but options. Because again, like we said before, it's not what's best for you, it's what's best for your clients. So really researching, she breaks down everything that you may need for your business. And I think is so helpful to have that in one system, like in one area, in one membership, as opposed to you got to go to 50 different membership groups or organizations to get what's provided, and you need a solid foundation as a business owner. It's not just about the EIN, LLC, okay, business banking, all of those things are important, but after that, what are your systems? That's like really what it comes down to. Like, what are your systems? Like, do you have them in place? If not, you need to join a membership.
I appreciate that. And that is not a paid testimonial. But no.
At all.
But I appreciate the point you made about going back. Like every quarter, at least, you need to look at things, because what we tend to do, even if we set new boundaries or we start with a new system or process, whatever the case may be, after time, we kind of start slipping back into our old habits. So we have to double check to make sure that we're still doing things to move forward, because otherwise we begin to stall our own progress that we've made and we don't even realize it. So if we don't pause and take a look at things, do some reflecting, which I force you all to do on those monthly calls, then you'll never know how far you're getting away or how your focus has shifted from where it really needs to be until, unfortunately, it's too late.
Way too late.
I want to thank you for coming on and sharing this experience with everyone. I know we've talked about doing this for a while, so this is perfect timing for it. You're definitely more confident in the way you talk about your business and speak. So I'm proud of you, because you've done a lot of work, especially over the past 6 months, to really get your systems in place. And really, I can see your business growing and just how it's changed, just how happy you look. It's amazing. So as you said, if you want to get these kind of results, join us inside the membership. We would love to have you and see you on our next call so you can start this journey with us. Now's a good time for you to do a reset. So unless you have anything else you want to add or any, final tip you want to give everyone, we can go ahead and wrap up for today.
I think I said a mouthful, but I just hope that whoever listens to this or even comes across it, that they really just, even if you've been in business for 10, 15, 20 years, like just take a step back this quarter to really truly look at every area of your business and see how you can improve. No one's perfect, so that means we all have room to grow. So look to see what you really need, the systems, the foundation, boundaries that you may even need in your business before the year ends,
Thanks for tuning in today. If this episode hit home, it's because you already know you're ready to stop patching up the problems and start running your business like the pro you are. But listening won't fix the cracks. Action will. Your next step? Grab the Back Office Power Checklist at theshannonbaker.com/checklist. It'll show you exactly what's working, what's missing, and where your back end is silently slowing you down. And if you're ready to go deeper, Founder Circle inside the Mind Your Time Society is where we can fix it together with the Systems Insanity Suite, and you'll get the clarity that you've been craving. Not quite there yet? Come say hi to me on Instagram at @the_Shannon Baker. I would love to hear what resonated with you the most. And if you're loving the podcast, please leave a quick review, because it goes a long way in helping more service providers like you find the podcast. You can do that right now at ratethispodcast.com/mindyourtime. Skills got your clients. Systems and your expertise are what's going to help you keep them. So until next time, keep calm and streamline.